Hi everyone, my name's Jason, and I'm a gearaholic.
I understand.
Hi, Jason. And as Daryl mentioned, I'm into ultralight backpacking and DIY gear. That's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. We thought it would be a good idea tonight. Maybe we'll pass some of these ideas down to the troops and maybe start some DIY gear projects with them. So first, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I'm originally from Western New York. I was a fly fishing guide for a long time there, and moved up here about 12 years ago. Also became a fly fishing guide at first, and then just fell in love with the mountains and backpacking. And once I got into backpacking, really just got addicted to it. And my pack when I started out was maybe about 50, 60 pounds, somewhere around there. And I started to hear about this movement in ultralight backpacking, but didn't really know what it was. So I read a lot, did a lot of research, and really just got into ultralight backpacking. And naturally, that led me to DIY gear because a lot of ultralight backpackers make their own things for some of the advantages that I'm going to show you tonight. So first of all, how many of you have done any kind of DIY gear projects with your scouts? Okay.
I can't hear you.
What's that?
Forget it.
What's that?
When you forget stuff.
We forget it, yeah. DIY on demand.
Exactly. On demand.
Yeah. Well, I like to kind of be a little bit more practical, so I make stuff in my kitchen. But anyway, so tonight I just want to go through and kind of share with you my philosophy about DIY, why I think it might be a good idea for your troops to give it a shot. And I'm going to pass out some gear so you can actually see some of the stuff I've made and maybe you'll start with an idea. So first of all, I have this concept called CLIP. And cheap, light, innovative, practical. But the acronym CLIP is kind of also a DIY term because we like to trim straps off of our backpacks that we buy REI to shave a few ounces off here and there and modify commercially made gear. So it kind of follows that philosophy too. But the first thing I realized about backpacking, DIY backpacking gear is it's a lot cheaper than buying it. So for example, here's an alcohol stove on the top that's commercially available. You can get it for $47. If you don't know what an alcohol stove is, this burns denatured alcohol. It's that stuff that you can find in the paint aisle at Home Depot. SLX is a good brand. But a lot of DIYers like to make their own. And this one here is just made out of that looks like some kind of vegetable juice can. I don't know. Usually you'll hear it referred to as a Pepsi stove. Has anyone ever heard of that? Yeah. That's kind of the iconic DIY piece here because it's so easy to make. And it's free. You can make it with anything you have lying around your house. Take 2 cans out of your recycle bin. Basically, you need a nail, an X-Acto knife, and that's pretty much it. Very, very simple to make. There's tons of instructions all over the internet about how to make those, and I'll be handing some of those out. So, in a lot of things, a lot of gear that's out there right now is over-engineered, it's overbuilt, it's too heavy, and it's way too expensive. So I'll be showing you some more examples of that. All right, the next thing is light. So up here we have a trowel made by Montbell. I think that thing is about 20 bucks or so. And it works fine. It's 1.4 ounces. And that might sound pretty light to you. But to an ultralighter, we want to cut every single ounce because ounces turn into pounds. So we think about everything in our pack. And even if we can only save 1 ounce, that's just 1 ounce for one thing. And we have 30 other things in our pack. Well, 30 ounces adds up very quick. And so you can really cut down your weight by just thinking about every little thing you pack and just shave an ounce here, half an ounce there, it all starts to add up. So this might not be a very dramatic example. I only went from 1.4 to 0.3 ounces, but again, it adds up. And I made my own titanium trowel. This one was it was pretty hard. Titanium's not the easiest material to work with. So that one's a little bit tougher. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you today is pretty easy to make, but I don't know, I just want a little nuts for that one. But it was a fun project.
Titanium expensive to buy, Jason?
What's that? You can get, I got a sheet on eBay for like, I think it was $10 or something like that. For something like this, you don't need very much. Okay, innovative. So this is a gravity filter that I designed and made. And basically, the way it works is, most water filters you have to pump and you have to sit there and it clogs and then you have to back flush it. And sometimes you just get sick of pumping, especially if you want a lot of water. So I designed this gravity filter where you put the dirty water in here, hang it up on a tree by this cord here. And then this is a kind of a small filter here. The water just goes through there into your clean bag, and you don't have to do any pumping. And it's pretty fast. I can filter all this water in about 2-3 minutes, something like that. And so you just keep filling this up, and you can get a lot of water in the camp without doing any pumping. So, also, this is a lot lighter. I think my pump filter is like 16 ounces or something like that. I can't remember how much this one is. I think it's like 5 or something like that. So that's a pretty big weight savings. It's also very compact. Yeah.
What's the filter?
The filter is an Aquamira Frontier Pro. I'll be handing this around, you can check it out. And you can't just use the filter, you actually have to pre-treat the water with tablets, because this only kills down to, I can't remember how many microns it is, but it won't kill everything. So what you want to do is you want to put some tablets in your dirty bag, let that sit for a while, and then filter it. But you know, one thing about DIY, and that's, you kind of brought up a good point, is you do sacrifice a little convenience. You have to be a little more careful with stuff because it's not as durable. You might have to be a little bit more patient with things, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get back there. So anyway, innovative. You know, I'm always thinking about small problems I have that haven't been solved by commercially available gear. And I don't know if it's just I'm the only one having that problem, or if just the gear companies haven't thought of it. But you know, one thing, if you start to do your research, you'll find that people think about every little detail, minutia, and they come up with solutions to problems you didn't even think about. So for me, you know, I hated pump filters. It was too heavy, too bulky. So I came up with my design. About a year later, Platypus came out with a design that was suspiciously similar. I don't know, I can't prove they actually copied it. It does happen all the time, but a lot of DIY guys, you know, they have their blog or their website and they talk about ideas, and then a year later, you find all of a sudden everybody's making it or someone else is making it. So, but it's interesting to me. To me, it's flattering because it's kind of like the DIYers are driving the commercial market to a certain extent, or at least influencing it. So it's kind of like the real innovation is not coming from companies who are making the same 7-pound backpack and just changing the graphics or changing the color. It's the guys who are out there in the garage tinkering and experimenting, and then you know they start getting the recognition, and then the commercial companies take notice. And so it's kind of driving the innovation of the gear market. And practical. So you'll see on these, when I hand these out, you'll see that I have these little kind of straps on here to keep my bags rolled up. Again, one problem I had was, you know, when I carry a few extra bladders with me. I don't use hard-sided water bottles. I can get a lot more capacity and storage for the same amount of bulk and space and weight with 4 of these or so. But I like to have them rolled up, and they just don't stay rolled up. So I just added some simple elastic cord and rolled it up, and that keeps it secure. So again, it was just a very practical solution to a tiny problem I had, and it's very simple. It took me 2 seconds to do, and I already had the cord, so that was free too. So I've already showed you some ideas. So I'm going to start handing some of this stuff out. If you can just kind of pass them around, and wherever it ends up, just leave it on the floor. Yeah.
Jason, is there like a website or something where you guys all hang out and share your
There's a lot of them, yeah. Backpackinglight.com. That's probably the forerunner of DIY.
LITE or LIG?
LIGHT, right. There's my site, Gear Talk with Jason Class. You can just Google Gear Talk. Also, backpacker.com, Backpacker Magazine, as Daryl mentioned. In the gear forum there's a lot of discussion about DIY projects. Literally, if you just Google DIY backpacker gear, a million things will come up. So there's a lot. It's a whole secret society onto its own. So, yeah. And we're a little crazy, so you know, don't judge us. Okay, so I've shown you some ideas. Let me talk about some other things. So you saw in the beginning the Pepsi stove, and I brought a small selection of stoves to show you. I'll pass those around. And what you'll notice is that these are all very easy to make, but there's thousands of different designs out there. And so, you know, again, if you start Googling alcohol stove, you come up with tons and tons and tons of different designs. And you'll see this is not a representative sample. I mean, this is just a few that I've made that will give you some kind of idea about different designs. So, speaking of alcohol stoves, here's a little kit I sometimes carry with me. I did make this. I wish I could make it. Good, but here's an alcohol stove that it's called the Super Cat. It's very popular one, very easy to make. Basically, just need a whole bunch in an empty cat food can. With alcohol stoves, you need to use a windscreen. And so here's one I made. I made it to be adjustable, so I can kind of regulate the airflow a little bit. And this one's called belt buckle windscreen. It's my little kind of invention. And so you can see this is a pretty nice little compact kit. Everything fits inside there, and you've got room for other stuff. And what you do is you just put this here. I've got slots cut out for the handles, and basically the stove is the pot support. So that's my entire cook kit right there. And it's very light. This weighs 0.5 ounces. This probably weighs 0.4 or something. It's very, very light.
How is alcohol stove for cooking on, Jason?
It's not great for cooking if you're going to do cooking proper. It's better for boiling water if you're going to do mountain house dehydrated meals or something like that. One of these, something like this, will boil 2 cups of water in about 5.5 minutes. And we usually use 2 cups, 16 ounces as the kind of standard to gauge the speed of the stove. Some stoves are really slow, some stoves are faster. There are even some stoves, I think I've got one in there, it's really small. It's just literally an empty tea candle. That one burns, it's more of like for simmering. You can boil water with it, but if you needed to cook, just kind of a lower temperature, you can do that. And again, you have to keep in mind, you're not gonna build an alcohol stove that's gonna rival anything that you buy out of like a butane stove or something like that. So that's one of the sacrifices. You can't cook for an hour on it and expect it to go on in 2 minutes. So those are some stoves. Here's a wood burning stove that is actually pretty cool. This one's a little bit more involved. It's made out of basically paint cans and some hardware cloth here. But this boils 2 cups of water in about, I think it's 9 minutes or so. This is a little bit slower. So wood stoves are another thing that are really easy to make too. You can make them out of tomato juice cans. Again, a lot of stuff you have lying around the house. This one's a little bit more involved, but you don't have to get that crazy to make something that works really well. And again,
What are you punching holes with?
that is a Unibit, which I'm going to talk about tools in a minute, but do you know what a Unibit is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But again, you could use all kinds of stuff for that. So, stoves are really iconic, again, of DIY gear. Here's my ultralight titanium trowel. That will seem like it bends a little bit this way, but if you bend it this way, the way you're actually going to dig a hole with it, you'll see that it's actually quite strong for how light it is. This is an ultralight cooking pot. You're probably looking at this and saying, what the heck? This guy's going to drink out of a little beer can? Well, again, if I only need to boil 2 cups of water, and I've got all the time in the world, I can have a small alcohol stove with this, and that's all I need, and I can eat out of it and drink out of it. This is all I need for one person. So it's very, very light, easy to make. I stripped off the paint. This is a Foster's can. You don't have to do that, but I just stripped it off to make it look a little bit cooler. And then I put fiberglass wick on the outside just so, because this gets really hot. So, when I want to pick it up off the stove, I need some kind of insulation there. And I just tied some paracord to the lid to make it a little bit easier to lift off without burning your fingers. Here's another windscreen, kind of like this one I made. Actually, I will pass both of these around. I'm not going to talk too much about materials tonight, just because there's so much to talk about, but this is aluminum flashing, which is a little bit harder to work with. You don't have to use this. You can use, some people just actually take aluminum foil and double it over itself, and that's it. But you can also use aluminum tooling foil, or it's sometimes called embossing foil. So again, there's tons of really unusual materials out there that you can make use of. Here's a fun one. So, okay. This is a commercially available pot cozy. And this is used, what you do is you boil your water, put your dehydrated food in the pot, and then put it in this neoprene case to insulate it, and that just helps it rehydrate a little bit faster and keeps it hotter. Really useful in the winter, okay? So this is a commercially available one. It comes with the pot here. But I made my own out of Reflectix. Some of you might know this stuff, insulation that you can get at any hardware store. Very, very easy to work with. You can make all kinds of cool stuff out of it. Some people use, it's basically just bubble wrap with foil on both sides. And some people make really big envelopes to put their Mountain House dehydrated meal bag in. Just fold it like that with a piece of velcro. I put this sticker on there. It's kind of a joke because this is the name of the company that makes this, but I put it on my DIY one just to be